Hello, welcome to the Five Percenters. I'm your host Nathan Anibaba. I'm joined as ever by the wonderful Daniela Genus.
Hi.
Every week we discuss an inspiring book that we're reading that advances us towards our goal of becoming a Five Percenter. This week Daniela and I are reviewing Good to Great, Jim Collins' book. Jim Collins' last book, Built to Last, answered the question, what does it take to build an enduring great company from the ground up? Good to Great answers an even more compelling question. How can a good company become a great company, and if so, how? After 5 years research, Jim Collins concludes that a good to great company can and does happen. This book looks at the variables that enable any size of organisation to make the leap from a good company to a great company, while other organisations just remain good. Supported by a lot of evidence, his findings are quite surprising, if not a little shocking to the modern mind. So I thought it was a fantastic book, really good read. Daniela, what were your thoughts on the book?
I thought it was a very good book.
Yeah.
It was a little more difficult for me to read than some of the other books that we've read previously, but I think it's because it's much more of it's a bit more academic, for want of a better terminology. So you have to pay attention. So to try and finish it in 1 week was near on impossible for me, because it's the kind of book that you have to pay attention to every single line or you miss something.
Okay.
But overall, I thought it was a good book.
Okay. Well, his criteria for a good company to a great company was one whereby he looked at the stock market returns for certain companies in the United States. He only looked at American companies. Mm-hmm. And he looked at them over a 15-year period and compared them to their closest competitors, and then understood, okay, what does it take because all the companies were they were good companies that were performing well, but to make an actual great company, the performance has to be consistent over a 15-year period, and you have to outperform your competition. So it's mainly, you could argue, for like CEOs who are coming into a new role, but I think the principles also apply to entrepreneurs starting a new company.
I think that it applies to anyone in business. Some of the principles are quite fundamental to anyone leading a business or about to lead a business. So I don't necessarily think it's just for CEOs. I think it's for owner founders also. Yeah.
What do you think about this idea of, basically, I guess the whole book is saying that success doesn't really happen overnight, right? And it's about sustained conscious effort over time that will get you to great results. And I think what he talks about in the book is this whole idea that the great companies didn't even realize that they were becoming a great company. It was just because the systems and behaviors and the habits were kind of instilled in them, they were just operating at this level, and they didn't even think it was amazing, right? Because it's about this consistent action, and he talks about the flywheel concept. And it goes back to the compound. Sorry,
you are like racing ahead.
Let's true.
Bring it back a piece.
Okay.
Firstly, for those who haven't read the book, what I think is quite fascinating is he's not just observing a few companies. He employs a very big team, and they put together a strategy of doing research with many companies. And so this is not just, okay, we're going to look at these 10 companies and see how they did it. It's a systematic approach. We're going to look at all of these companies. We're going to look at all of their closest competitors. We're going to look at all of the companies that were their competitors that have gone out of business or that have been acquired through mergers and acquisition. And they use a very systematic process. What are the common denominators between each of these that became great, each of these that just continues to be good, and each of these that went bankrupt or became acquired? So it's quite a scientific process, and I think that's what makes this book really amazing, because it's not just opinions, it's actually statistical. It's
based on statistical fact. And the other thing is as well is that because they're publicly traded companies, you can get access to the data that they have access to, and also you can measure them relative to the competition, as you said earlier. So that's a really good example. So he highlighted, through the research, through the 5 years, he highlighted 7 key factors that separated good companies from great companies.
And that was 7 key factors that were found across all of the great companies that achieve longevity and sustainability in their greatness. Because some of the companies were great at some point and possessed those 7 traits, or did these 7 things. Yeah. But then they didn't maintain it. Right. And therefore they went back to being good. Or
That's why the 15 years is important, because you may have a CEO that comes in for like 5 or 6 years and does amazing things, but then they don't leave a legacy behind them that another CEO can come in. So it's about longevity. It's about the tenure. So what were the 7 factors? So we'll go through the 7 briefly now, and we'll just touch on them throughout the rest of the show. So the first one is level 5 leadership. First who, then what. Number 3 is confront the brutal facts. Number 4 is the hedgehog concept. Number 5 is a culture of discipline. Number 6 is technology accelerators. And then number 7 is the flywheel and the doom loop. So let's spend a little bit of time unpacking each one of them. So let's go into level 5 leadership. What does he describe as level 5 leadership?
Well, I thought that this was quite interesting because he makes the suggestion in the book, for many companies and people, we think that to turn a failing company around, you need this big brash CEO that's going to come and do amazing things, and they're confident and they're charismatic, and they're the people that you need. And lots of companies spend lots of money to get these, I guess, celebrity CEOs in. But actually what is really needed is a level 5 leader, and level 5 leaders tend to be quiet, reserved, even shy. They have a combination of humility and personal will. And they're quite self-effacing. So some of the things that he kind of addresses in the book is, for some of the companies that brought in these level 5 leaders that became great, the leaders that he spoke to never really said that it was about them. They didn't create the success, it was the team. Or it was luck. We were lucky. So it was all me and I'm amazing, which for the companies that were not able to sustain their greatness, a lot of the time it was the individuals, that it was me, and they blamed other people
when things went wrong.
Right. So I found that really a very interesting concept, because I think that we have been indoctrinated to think that to be a great CEO, it's this big, loud,
personality. It's about you. You have to make it, and it's not really not. And he talks about that in terms of the mirror and the window. Right, so he says when CEOs make mistakes, they look at themselves in the mirror and say, "What did I do to?"
That's the level 5 leaders specifically.
Yeah, those are level 5 leaders. So they look at themselves in the mirror and say, "What did I do to cause this? What could I have done better?" And they kind of put the blame on themselves. Whereas, if successful things happen, they look through the window, and they apportion any success to their team, and they say it's them. And the funny thing is that the team does the thing the other way around. So the team looks at the CEO through the mirror and says, the window, and says, he's the person responsible, she's the person responsible. They're, it's them that did it. And they don't take really sort of, they don't really look at themselves as the conduit of that success. I thought that was a nice way of explaining it. And then he also had this idea of, so there was an example of a CEO that was almost like quite the opposite of that, right? So he came in, and he was this brash kind of CEO that was on the cover of Forbes and that kind of thing. And he wrote a book, and he described himself as like the Rambo of the business world or something like that.
But then he kind of just made it up. He created this persona for himself, and he just ran with it. When actually it didn't even represent who he was. So that's what he also says. Jim Collins, is that it needs to be natural,
right?
And it's stuff that can be learned. But in reverse, if you're trying to be this big brash person, if you taught yourself to do that, then you can see right through it. And those people are not sincere and potentially not going to achieve the same success as a level 5 leader, because a level 5 leader is not about me and my personal success. It's about putting the company first. And if it means that they have to step down in order for the company to continue, they will do that. And the difference between the poorer businesses, and when I say poor, I mean not as successful,
the good ones,
not even financial, but not just the good ones, also the rubbish ones. Is that when, even if something's been going well, the CEO, because it's all about them, when they step away, they don't care if the business goes to pot. Whereas the level 5 leaders, their main objective is not about me being this great CEO, it's about this being a great company, and therefore they make sure that the successors that they put in place are able to continue their legacy.
Okay. Well, let me ask you a question. Would you call yourself a level 5 leader?
No, not right now, I wouldn't.
Why not?
I don't know.
Would you? Well, let me ask you. Would you consider yourself as? This is coming. You know it was coming. Would you consider yourself as self-effacing, quiet, reserved, humble, and have personal will? I say you have personal will.
I have personal will. See, you say I'm not quiet, but
I didn't. Did I say that? I'm asking you a question.
You were implying that.
Was I?
If you ask my husband, he would tell you I'm actually quite a quiet individual.
I don't know.
I'm just saying. Self-effacing, I would say sometimes, and actually I am. But the problem I have is the humility. No, the self-effacing, and I recently did a video about this on my YouTube channel. imposter syndrome, and I think that's actually part of that. If you're self-effacing, I guess you divert the kind of attention, and it wasn't me, did it? And I felt like that for a long time, and I thought that was a negative thing. And then reading this book made me think maybe it's not as negative as I thought it was. But for those who don't know what imposter syndrome is, it's this kind of aversion to people celebrating the good things that you've done, and I used to hate it. Like, why do people keep saying these things about me? Why are they giving me awards? Like, oh my gosh,
you don't feel you're worthy.
No, someone's going to find out, and I'm going to
it's going to be taken away.
Yeah, they're going to call me a fraud.
The imposter police are going to come.
Yeah, they're going to get me.
We've been monitoring you, and you're a fraud. We're taking back
and that was
everything.
something that and it's only recently that I think I've started. Well, recently when I've not been doing that much, to be honest, that I think I've come to grips with it. So actually, going through that, humility. I don't know. I think that I'm quite what is the word? Confident in my abilities, and therefore sometimes that could come across as not being humble.
Okay.
But deep down, I think I am.
Deep down, you're humble.
Yeah, I just think I like.
But you're confident.
I have banter.
Okay.
And I'll make jokes about stuff that I'm good at.
Okay.
But yeah, I wouldn't say I'm not humble.
Okay. But you realise that there is some way for you to go to become a proper level 5 leader.
Yes.
What do you think you need to work on?
Building a business. I need a business to lead.
Well, yeah, no, but like you need to become the person capable of doing that first, right?
I don't know. I think just. I don't know, because now I've gone through the list. I think maybe I'm already kind of there.
Well, he. There was a lady that he was talking to in the book that clearly was not like humble or any of the terms, but she wasn't a level 5 leader. So she asked the question: can these traits be developed? Can we learn these things? And the answer to that was yes, you can learn them. And the best way of doing that is by emulating other great leaders, or looking for other great leaders that have those qualities that you lack or that you want to possess, right? But there are definitely things that you can learn. I believe. Anyway.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I don't think that there's anything other than the humility bit, and I guess maybe I should. But I don't know, because I think that me making jokes about stuff I'm good at is part of my personality.
Okay.
Not that I'm not humble. Yeah, it's not that I'm not humble, because if I met strangers, or I was in a business environment, I wouldn't make the same jokes with them that I would make with you. I make it with you because you're you, right?
Yeah.
So I can say I'm the baddest and I'm whatever.
Yeah.
Because I'm talking to you, but do I really believe that? Possibly not, because if I did, then I wouldn't have.
No, I mean it's fine to believe that, but I think in terms of like portraying that as like a characteristic to other people, I think sometimes it could get people.
But that's what I'm saying. I don't
know.
I would
you don't do that in public?
No, I would never do that in public.
When I say in public, I mean you don't do that in your day-to-day business life when you're out and you don't come across as someone that is... Because I get the feeling that you come across as someone... And it's fine. I think there's
someone that's not humble.
No, someone that is confident.
Yeah, but that's
and
what
that can
I'm
be
saying.
confused.
But that's their problem, not my problem.
Okay.
Because I don't know. For me, someone that's not humble is someone that's like, I'm here and I made it because I am the best.
Yes.
And I didn't take any help from anyone, and I don't have that at all. I will make jokes and say, well, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to beat everybody because I'm the best at it.
Yeah.
But that's speaking.
That shouldn't even be a joke. Yeah, that should just be the way that you feel.
Yes,
right?
that's what I'm saying. Fine. I think there's a difference between confidence and having a laugh and a joke and being cocky. And I don't think that I'm.
And I think that's what he says as well. He says, don't get it twisted that these 11-5 leaders weren't ambitious and very driven. They definitely were, but it was driven for the business. Mm-hmm. Like it wasn't driven for themselves and their own personal ambitions, and it wasn't really about them. It was about the business and their team and their success, right?
See, and I think for me, because I'm trying to be an entrepreneur, I think that's where it would differ for me. Because my business is part of my personal success. Whereas if you're a CEO being taken into another business, then it has to be just about the business. Because the business is already
doesn't necessarily have to be about
well,
the business.
It should be if you're trying to be a good leader.
Yeah.
Because it's not your... Well, number one, that's what you were brought in to do. That's the first thing. And your success, although it's partly intermingled with the business, that's your job. So you could just go and get another job. Whereas if you're trying to be an entrepreneur, I think it's quite difficult to not also have your own personal success linked to your business, because if you're trying to build your own business, if that works, then obviously that works for your personal success as well. I don't know how you would differentiate the two.
Yeah, okay, good point. Interesting discussion anyway. So the second point is first who, then what, right? And what he means by that is we would think that great companies develop a strategy first and then they find people to actually guide the company. But good to great companies first get the right people on the bus, get the wrong people off the bus, and then figure out where to drive it, right? So it's all about the right people. What do you think about this idea?
I 100% agree. I think there is a focus sometimes and we need to get the best people, but actually, who do you already have that needs to be ejected?
Gone.
And he talks about, I can't remember if it's a story or if he's just saying it, but the fact that somebody, maybe it was a story then, well, the reasons why you don't get rid of those people is because it's uncomfortable, because you don't want to have to deal with firing somebody, for example, because you think that they're good enough for now.
Yeah.
So I'll just leave them until I can find somebody better. When actually they're causing bigger problems.
Yeah.
And he also says that the great people that are there, they're being brought down by the mediocre people.
That's just like hanging around, and then they're like, why is he keeping this person around? Because it's bringing the rest of us down, right? So it has a negative impact.
So, and he gives the I guess his examples of how you should hire someone. So when in doubt, don't hire, keep looking.
Yeah.
I remember I was in doubt about somebody that I hired, and I was like, well, I'll just hire. They're the best out of the 10 that we
have so far.
Actually, no, don't hire them.
Yeah.
Go and find another 10 and find that. Keep going until you find the best, and then you won't make mistakes.
Yeah.
Because when you're sure you need to make people change, act. Having them around does more harm than good. What I don't even understand that. When you're sure
so what are you reading my sentence?
Oh yeah, when you're sure you need to make people change, act. So do something about it.
Yeah. Okay,
so he's also saying, there's no grammatical issues.
But it's for me.
So he's talking about this idea that you don't necessarily even have to fire someone. You can just find them somewhere else.
Yeah.
So if they're not working in this, to be honest, I think that sounds quite time consuming, to be honest. But he's saying you could, if somebody's not effective 100% here, then move them somewhere else. And he provides an example of somebody that moved someone from one massive department to a much smaller department in a company, and within a few years that company was department was the biggest income generator for the entire company. So I think that in principle it sounds like a good idea, it just sounds like in practice it might be quite time consuming.
True.
And then finally, put your best people on your biggest opportunities, not your biggest problems. And I think that makes sense. If you're taking somebody who's doing whatever here and put them on something that's doing terribly, you're going to demotivate them, and then they're going to leave. Yeah. So actually, if there's, in the example I just provided, if there's this small division here, it's not doing terribly, but actually you can see the opportunity, put them there, then they're going to flourish. Yeah. So I agree with all of what he says. Yeah. People are not your most important asset, and people think, oh, we just need people. No, it's the right people. If you've got the wrong people, or if you've even just got mediocre people, that can also be detrimental. Yeah.
But do you think it's harsh though? Because he says, like, when you're sure that you need to fire someone, don't faff about, like, act, like, get rid of them. And that's cold.
It's the way it needs to be done. I faffed around.
That is cold.
I'll give you a prime example. I faffed around somebody I knew needed to be fired for about 3 months. I didn't fire them. I kept giving them chances. And then I fired them.
Maybe they'll improve. And
they didn't improve. They got fired.
Was that what you were thinking at the time?
Yeah. And to be honest, I just didn't want to have to fire anyone.
Why?
Because it's not very nice. And I felt like the person had a good heart. I didn't think that there was any ill intent. So I'm like, I'm going to fire. Yeah, she didn't do a good job. And then I waited. And then when I actually did fire them, it was like a week after the employment tribunal deadline. Like, had I fired her a week before, there would have been no room for recourse. But because it might have even been a day, like it was really close.
Procrastinated.
Because I procrastinated, then I ended up having to go to an employment tribunal.
You're joking me.
So yeah, just fire them.
Do it. When you know, you know.
No faffing about, just get rid.
Just do it.
And obviously follow due process.
Don't just kick them out the door, right?
Yeah, just get rid.
Okay. So how do you know who to hire then? Like, how do you know who's the right person to hire?
I am the last person to
Well, I mean, I'm kind of asking it rhetorically because he does answer it in the book, and he says the best way to do it is to hire for character and then train for skills, right? So you hire, you don't agree with that?
Well, I guess if he says it's probably right. I hired for character and
it didn't work out. But then did you train for the skills?
Maybe not as effective.
Maybe not.
Yeah. No, that's true.
You know? Because if they're the right person, if they fit with your values and your ideology and the way that you think as a business, then everything else can be learned. right?
I guess.
Okay, so the third point is confront the brutal facts. And he uses the Stockdale principle. Paradox, sorry. So Stockdale was this prisoner of war, American prisoner of war. He was taken hostage in Vietnam or Cambodia or something like that.
Vietnam, he got shot down.
Shot down, right. And the guy just had this amazing resolve, right? He refused to be broken and give up information. He refused to be put on camera as an example of a hostage that's been treated well.
Well, he didn't even refuse. He cut his face.
He beat himself up.
So that, because their mission was to show that the prisoners of war have been treated well. And he's like, well, if I cut up my face, they're not going to put me on camera.
They're not going to put me on camera.
Because then I'm not being treated
Can
well,
you imagine?
clearly.
Could you do that?
No.
Just put me on camera. I'll tell you anything.
I'll talk. I'm not someone that should ever be a prisoner of war.
Yeah, because you just give up all the information.
Well, yeah, and then he does
terrible.
talk about the three different types of people that he determined, I guess, exist. So, well, no, it wasn't even him. The International Committee for the Study of Victimization found that people fall into three categories. And this, when we say people that are going through some extreme hardship, so cancer patients, prisoners of war, accident victims who survive, etc. So the first type of people, which is probably me, permanently dispirited by the event.
I disagree with that.
Number 2, those who got their life back to normal. And number 3, those who use the experience as defining event and made them stronger. Maybe in little things, but if I was a prisoner of war, I think I'd be permanently dispirited by the event.
I don't think so.
I think so, because I watched those prisoner of war films and I'm in bits, and I wasn't even there.
You weren't even there. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? And that goes back to the book we were reading just last week, really, about like obstacle is the way, and like instead of seeing something as a challenge, actually use it as the fuel to drive you to get you to where you want to go, right? And so that's what Stockdale did. And he said he learnt more about business and leadership from this Stockdale guy than any of the books on leadership that he's read, because he confronted the brutal facts, but also had unwavering faith that he would succeed. And those are the two principles, right? So he knew that, listen, I'm in this prisoner of war camp. I'm getting tortured, I'm getting beaten up. I don't know if I'm ever going to get out. So the brutal fact is, I don't know if I'm ever going to get out. I don't know if I'm ever going to see my family again. He has kids, he's got a wife. But also, he has this unwavering faith that he knows that someday he will get out and he will get what he wants, right? So those are the two things that you need in business and as an entrepreneur and as a CEO, right? It's the faith that you will succeed at some point, but also you have to address the issues and whatever harsh realities of your business life exists around you right now.
Yeah, I loved that concept.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, I did love that concept.
Yeah. And he uses the example of, and then this goes back to another book that we're reading. All these books intermingle. Mm-hmm. So when he was in the prisoner of war camp, some of the other prisoners, they were positive to a certain degree, but they put time scales on when they thought they would be released. So they said, "Oh, we're going to be out by Christmas," and so their morals would be high, and their spirits would be high, and then October, November, December would come and go, and they'd be and they'd still be there, and they'd get dispirited, and they're like, "Fuck, we're still here." Sorry, did I swear? I'm sorry. Is that not? Can we not do that? Okay,
No.
anyway, we'll block that out. Anyway,